Hello and welcome to the Monday, 26th of April 2021, DXbiz Dev Call. Um, on the agenda today, we'll have new member introductions, and I think we already have a few members. We're going to do some updates, and this is like the general kind of vibe. The rest of the call is like to do updates from previous weeks, from these DX Ventures, and maybe from marketing and comms. And maybe, I'm not sure if this is to do with governance or biz dev, but to explore DXDAO expanding onto new networks. And it looks like, I was just looking earlier today, and it seems like Solana has like their Uniswap competitor or PancakeSwap competitor. So could be interesting to figure out if we want to go on there. We can save that till the end. And yeah, do you want to start with introductions? Francesco, who else? Black on Scale. Jordan, go for it.
Sure. Hi everyone, very excited to meet you all. So far I just spoke with Melanie and Geronimo and someone else also. Anyway, yeah, I basically followed blockchain space for a couple of years, and I was working for startups those last 2 years. Last year was a pretty hectic year, and I decided I always had in the back of my mind to learn coding, and so I jumped into a new adventure last year, and I couldn't be happier, to be honest. And yeah, I just graduated last month from full stack bootcamp, and now I'm looking for job opportunities, and I am very interested in DXDAO, and will probably have to make the last decision, but will probably be part of the adventure if you accept me.
Awesome, welcome. How did you learn about?
I'm following the
DXDAO through.
I'm following the Twitter chat since a couple of years. I mean, since it was Gnosis before. And yeah, I mean, last month when I finished, I just I continued. I mean, now every morning I still do lots of theory and practice, and on the afternoon I was looking for job opportunities, and I just thrown a message, and Jan and Geronimo contacted me, and yeah, I was really surprised, and from the kindness and excitement and supportive, and yeah, I hope to be at the level, and I'm really motivated and really eager to learn. I'll have to learn GraphQL for sure, and this is going to be on the top of my list as soon as I start. And yeah, that's it. I'm half French, half Italian. I'm actually based in south of France, and I will probably, after the trial period, move to Lisbon, very probably, if everything goes as planned. So, I mean, very happy and to meet you personally if we have the opportunity.
Nice, welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm working on a Portuguese passport, so maybe in a few years I'll meet you in Lisbon.
I don't need. I mean, I have 2 passports already. It's more than enough. But I mean, for me, it would be fairly easy. But I've heard that the conditions over there are amazing. Also supporting crypto entrepreneurs, workers, developers, whatever. And yeah, I really like. I speak Spanish too, so should be okay.
Welcome, Francesco. I'm in Lisbon, so happy to show you around when you get here.
Thanks you. But yeah, we're talking tomorrow, actually, right?
Yep, that's right.
Amazing. Thanks.
Nice, welcome.
Thanks, guys.
We have Jordan as well.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Jordan. I live in Los Angeles. I heard about DXDAO through SkyMine at a crypto meetup and thought I would learn more. I work in product at a company in the national security space, kind of helping banks and government organizations manage risk in their supply chains and customers and such. So that's actually how I became interested in crypto by learning how the people that are clients are interested in learning more about were using crypto for money laundering and other illicit activity. But then I got into DeFi, and I'm really interested in DeFi. I'm particularly interested in prediction markets. So I've been learning more about Omen, and I'm eager to learn how to contribute to the project, whether it's through Omen or what other utility tasks that I can help out with.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Welcome,
Jordan.
Bye.
Wait, and how did you first find out about DXDAO? I'm just interested in this aspect. I guess.
Yeah. So I was at a crypto meetup, and I mentioned to this guy that I was a product manager, and he was like, "Oh, well, have you heard of DXDAO? Like, we really need product people." So I read and learned more.
Awesome. Welcome. I think I've traveling a lot in the past couple of weeks, and then you speak to people, and then what do you do in crypto, and then suddenly I explained it, or this was even with Chris, right? Like, we work for ourselves, for a company that's only on the internet. Like, it's very interesting to explain, and people are really like, it piques their interest. So maybe we'll see like more.
It's fun to say that you met someone from the internet. It's like, this is my friend from the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this used to be like you're either gaming together or from like a forum or something. But now it's like, we work for the same company together, but we are the company, and it's just weird. Or we're generally from the future. We have also Black on Scale here. Do you want to introduce himself? Also, I know Kermit has been around, but I've never heard the introduction. If you want to.
They've both introduced themselves already.
Ah, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Sorry, no, a few weeks ago.
All right. When I was gone.
Yes.
All right. So like for the rest of the agenda, I have kind of like general updates from previous weeks, and I think maybe we can do a quick update for DX Ventures, and I think Keenan also has a few things to say maybe about the documentation project, and yeah, I don't know, Sky, do you have any updates? I think Tammy just sent an update.
Yeah, so Tammy may have some more details, but DX Ventures in general. So we're there's a couple. Actually, there's a call. We have an initial call with an interesting project called Greet, who actually already has received a grant from Aragon, and their idea, really big picture. Don't know too much about it, but is like, of all these decentralized, things that are being built, their goal is to create an easier, partly centralized system. So centralized enough to make it easy for everyone to access all of these decentralized things. So the question is, like, how do you do that in a like protected, decentralized way, right? And so that's their goal. They've been building for a few months, I think, already, and they have a demo which they're going to show us. So we'll see how that goes, and then we can present that bigger to the wider group. And then the main investment which is moving forward right now is with Opolis, actually. And Opolis actually has released their work token into the public, but they're investors of this Seed Plus round. They're you can see some of the names out there right now. but DX Ventures is looking to join that Seed Plus round, and I think there should be a proposal coming up soon that rep holders will be able to vote on. So, yeah, and then I think as we announce that and get some more awareness and things, I think we'll start to see more and more projects probably coming and wanting to present to DX Ventures as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good wrap up. We should have a post for the Opolis grant up today. It's looking like, I think most people know, but so everyone is clear, we have $50,000 that's being proposed from the DXDAO Treasury, and then another $50,000 has been committed by DXDAO contributors. And so that process, the conversation around it will kind of kick off today. And if everything seems good, we'll move forward with the on-chain proposal.
Nice. And we're going to be, I guess this is like sort of making history, right? I don't know if there's any, well, I guess like a Metacartel Ventures is something similar. But yeah, I don't know if there's been like, I want to say really decentralized organization that has actually invested in something else. Yeah.
What's interesting is this idea that you just said is very new. It is very new. There's like the Lao and Metacartel Ventures have been doing it in the past with a legal entity, but even in this Opolis round, I think like the Pickle community and maybe the Badger DAO community and DXDAO community, there's a bunch of actual decentralized communities that are going to participate in this, and that's kind of great for Opolis because that is the core of what Opolis is. Opolis is made for communities just like this. So, and John, who's the founder, he's really a big believer in this, and I think that this is going to explode. Like, and projects are going to have to learn how to work with and take investment from DAOs that are not like legally set up and things like that. And I think that will like explode from here, and it's going to really ramp up. So it's cool to like, yeah, do one and see how it goes, and then we can build from there.
Yeah, I think this is super interesting. I know that also, I know, for example, that the other kind of project that we've been talking to, Hats, like it has problems taking essentially money from DXDAO, or generally from taking money from something that doesn't have a legal entity and cannot go through KYC. So hopefully that we'll be able to solve that as well. But yeah. Any other updates in that regard?
Well, there was some talk around that. Is like, what does KYC mean? Right? KYC is made for people, right? So, and I guess entities too, but usually KYC is for actual individual people that represent an agency, like an entity. So the question is, if you are taking money from code, can you KYC the code? Like, shouldn't you be able to KYC DXDAO, like as a wallet?
Yeah, I think that something that people could add their thoughts on is whether or not a blockchain analysis of the DXDAO treasury is essentially that a version of KYC in the DAO, because then that would trace the money back to any red flagged accounts, and we could just, remove that portion of funds if there is anything there, which there shouldn't be. That would maybe be one option.
I mean, so we would be doing like a due diligence on the funds that have entered the DXDAO?
Exactly, because the whole point of KYC in this instance, since we don't have the legal entity, is just to show that the funds weren't, flagged in some sort of, illicit investigation, terrorism, whatever. So, it's like tracing the funds back to the original wallet and seeing if the wallet has been red flagged for any reason.
Yeah, and since I was gonna say, since all
Yeah,
this
go for
is
it.
on chain, it's like a new world, right? I mean, think of obviously like Sushi, Compound, and other DeFi tokens that are generating cash on chain. Like you can see the accounts and trades and borrows and lends that are actually generating that revenue. So you'd be able to like associate that, but it's clear that the source of funds will be. I guess when they come from within the crypto DeFi world, it'll be like trackable. Then it'll be kind of the on and off ramps that still will be regulated.
Yeah, and I think I've been following like all these flagged addresses and stuff, and I don't think there's much on Ethereum except like hacks. So there isn't any like terrorism or
Right. That's
terror-
another good example. Is it could just be hacker money, which you don't necessarily want to associate with either. So it's not.
I mean, I think USDC and Tether have both had like at least 10 addresses that they've like frozen funds for. So it is like an active thing. It'll just be interesting to see how regulators like use those tools to influence things.
Yeah, just to add a few thoughts. One thing that even decentralized platforms should be concerned about is funds that come from sanctioned jurisdictions. So even if an address itself isn't, on an OFAC list or otherwise associated with illicit activity, that could still be a liability. And that's what the government has focused the most on with enforcement actions related to KYC for virtual asset service providers. There's been a couple of big actions recently, and this government has signaled that they're going to step that up. And the other thing that I would say in terms of like kind of auditing existing funds in the treasury is that like regulators would probably be less concerned about like particular funds that you already had and more concerned about the source of funds for whoever seemed to exercise control over the DAO. So even, if there isn't like, legally somebody who has, power of attorney or signing power over the DAO, it'd probably be something like who holds like the largest share of like governance tokens and such. Like 10% is usually the beneficial ownership threshold that regulators look at. So yeah, I just add those two things. And I guess the last thing I'd add is that once you start looking into like things like users or significant holders of assets in the treasury, so on and so forth, it's really good to just have like a documented policy, because even if there's like a problem like further down in the future, as long as everything's like memorialized and like you can show that you're like making a good faith effort to like abide by specifically like OFAC's like regulations in this regard, then like God forbid there was some sort of enforcement action, which I don't think there would be, like several years down the line, it would be like a significant like mitigating factor if you can show that there was like an actual compliance policy in place. But big questions.
Yeah, that's actually super interesting, and I would love to talk with you more about this. I do some compliance related questions work with the DAO, and it seems like you have a really interesting background in it, so we should talk more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is super valuable.
Agreed. Yeah, awesome.
I think this is a thing. This is a thing like we've been, I don't know, kind of like tinkering with and trying to figure out, because DXDAO doesn't have a legal entity, and the funds were raised in sort of like an open manner, and we are trying to basically be as decentralized as possible. So yeah, I guess all of these things are interesting. And yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, what I was going to say is, Jordan, with your knowledge and background, and more DAOs have these same exact questions that DXDAO has, and no one's really like creating standards and things yet. And so you and we have the opportunity to like create our own standard of what is safe and things. And because it doesn't exist and no one's done it, we can create it and we can say, this is what we like, this is a great idea, and this, we've decided this, and other DAOs, like even our compensation stuff, other DAOs will start to use what we're doing, and then we're like a leader in that space, which is, and then we can eventually, like, you know, the regulators will see that, and they may use that in their creation of regulations for DAOs, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, they have no idea what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
They want like DAOs to be like subject to the same AML, KYC, sanctions, like regulations as other entities, but they just literally have no idea how to do that. So yeah, I mean, if you could put together like a compelling, you know, good faith set of policies, like that could be beneficial in a lot of ways.
I was actually just going to say, I liked what you said earlier about good faith, that like operating in good faith. And I think that's kind of the approach that we should have, because it's both what we want to do in terms of being ethical, moral, and right. And then also even like long-term, any of the legal, if they're looking back, right, it's like we're the actors acting in good faith. And I think as long as we have at least that as a guiding light, that will help us figure out exactly what to do.
Yeah, so I want to say maybe, I mean, I think obviously we should be, you know, acting in good faith and, you know, actually showing that. But, you know, at the end of the day, what will set the policy is money. I mean, that's kind of how it works. It's not only in the US, it's mainly in the US, but it's, I guess, all over the world. And, you know, at least in this regard, we have, like the way I see it, we have Andreessen Horowitz, which is down. So like I trust that it will be okay in the eyes of the regulator. If we are, you know, even more decentralized in a way, or, you know, we're adding layers on top of Uniswap and Compound, then I think we should also be okay. But, you know, and yeah, like the regulators are going to be looking at, you know, the strongest lobbies that are going to basically influence them to do whatever is good for them. That's the reality of how things work, I think. So. Was this too grim?
I actually think it was a pretty positive discussion. It's good to communicate about these things. And it's going to come up with investing in general. So it's natural that we should talk about it.
The connection was a bit choppy. I don't know whether it was on your end, Nylan, or on ours or mine. I couldn't hear you well.
Yeah, Nylan, you were cutting in out a little bit, but I think we got the gist.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, I guess, I don't know. Good luck to us. So someone has a phone call. Do we want to move on to the next sort of topic? Maybe Kenan, if you want to update about the communications. Sorry, the documentation.
Yeah, I was going to say no big communications update because we have the recap call this week, and I don't want to double dip. But update about the documentation book. Just on Friday, I finished with the review copy, and it got a review by Violet over the weekend. So just this morning, I'm going to be putting the build together and making a document for the review copy. So I'll be sending out an IPFS link and probably a HackMD or something of the sorts with instructions on what we want tested, what we're looking for. Not quite ready to share, so I won't be taking up too much of this time, unfortunately. But within the hour or two, I'll be sending people information and it would be great to get as many people as possible giving it a test. So yeah, keep your eyes on the documentation book channel if I don't reach out to you, and there'll be a link there as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Keenan. And then, yeah, if there are no other topics, maybe we can chat about other layer ones. So any other topics before we go into this and then fight over what's decentralized or not?
Yeah, if we're going to move to that, before we talk about other layer ones, I raised some discussion points after our community call on Thursday. There was actually an XDAI community call, and I think that was their first one ever. XDAI is a blockchain. There is a core team, but the blockchain is pretty much a permissionless blockchain at this point. They made a big effort so that like anyone can run XDAI nodes. I think it's using Nethermind, which is like an Ethereum client, and that's really important to XDAI as a chain. And there are a handful of very interested parties, such as like OneHive, for example, and obviously Gnosis and other entities in the space. And you can follow XDAI chains weekly updates and things. There's quite a few projects and things that are leveraging and POAPs and stuff that are using XDAI chain that are pretty central to the Ethereum ecosystem. Obviously, there are other ones like Matic Polygon as well, which are in competition and have gotten some good traction as well. But these are not true layer twos. Some people see these as temporary solutions. But DXDAO has leaned into XDAI. Obviously, OneHive community has leaned into XDAI. There's a lot of people that are leveraging XDAI, but it's still uncertain on like what the future of XDAI chain is. So obviously, we have plans for layer twos like Arbitrum and things, but for right now, we're running most of Omen, and we want users to come to XDAI to use Omen and things like that. And so there's like open questions on like what is the future of XDAI. And so because we're so dependent on it at this point for our governance and Omen and Swapper, we should probably be more involved in general, like from a business side, but also a developer side into like the decisions that happen in this community. And the OneHive team, we could work with the OneHive team on this as well, because they're very they're quite active. Like Luke from OneHive is very active in this new kind of community. And there is some talk about does the future of XDAI rely on Ethereum 2.0, or does it rely on Polkadot, or does it rely on Solana? Like, where is it eventually going to get its true security, at its core? And it can go in many, many directions. And right now, XDAI has its own security, and its bridge validators are very important in the ecosystem, like any sidechain, where the bridge validators really get to decide. Bridge validators have almost as much power as the validators of a blockchain, right? Because if the bridge doesn't work, or the bridge changes to another chain or something, like that's who's deciding where your bridged money goes, right? So this is all stuff that's like being figured out. There's like, obviously blockchains don't change and move like super fast, but if DXDAO thinks there should be a certain decisions, like, should XDAI stay only core to the Ethereum ecosystem, or should it explore leveraging other layer one chains as well, which is kind of the discussion that Nylon wants to talk about in general. It's all open decisions. Can it become a roll up on Ethereum 2.0? Can it become a roll up on Ethereum 1.0? And so these are all open questions that I think DXDAO should be deeper in, because we are quite reliant on XDAI at this point. And so that's like, I can start sharing like when those calls are going to be. XDAI communities mainly in their Discord, just like we're also creating a bigger Discord community. But anyone can go, any questions, support channel, that's all in their Discord. And so we can follow all this along and give our opinions through those channels. But that's just like, that's all specific to XDAI chain, which is what we are using right now. But Nylon, if you want to open this up to even bigger than that, like we can do that as well, because there's obviously all these chains out there. But I think DXDAO at its core is Ethereum based, at least at this point. But I think in the future it would be even more multi-layer one world, potentially.
Yeah, I think first on the XDAI, like I think we are active participants in the XDAI ecosystem, DXDAO, Swapper, Omen. So I think it's important that we are aware of what's going on with XDAI development and also involved in the future decision-making process. That's independent, I guess, of what DXDAO should be thinking about in terms of scalability and where we should be putting resources strategically in products deployed. Right now, those are overlapped with being on XDAI, and we're looking at elsewhere. I don't know if XDAI will be a strategically strong like L2 next year, but maybe it develops into some kind of like test net where it picks up activity over the next year, and then we can, and then maybe it eventually transitions to an L2. So I think we have to keep our options open for DXDAO and making sure that we're looking at obviously Arbitrum, and if we want to consider the other L1 chains. I know everyone's talking about Solana now, but I think separately, it's great that you were on that call, and I think we should be involved in the discussions just because we're such an active participant.
Yeah, I think XDAI was always meant to be our playground. We always knew what we like, which kind of base we are installing on XDAI. It is a playground. It is working. Our product's already seeing traction a little bit, but I think we're just getting started with XDAI. So I don't think we have any resources to focus on other side chains. I think the DXDAO is betting strong on L2. So while we're having the playground, the XDAI base, I think we definitely just need to prepare for L2.
Yeah, so I think you know, the XDAI discussion, like we should actually be participating more in the community. Sky, I'd like to join, like if I can, those XDAI calls. Yeah. And on like the reason I kind of bringing up Solana is just because I saw over the last couple of days that, you know, it kind of, there's like a meme of all the crazy APYs from Binance Chain is now moving to Solana, and it seems like it actually works. And Solana has, you know, been super hyped for a long time, and I don't know, Sam Bankman-Friedman is like this super mega genius, kind of like Vitalik, and I feel like if DXDAO, I don't know if, you know, deploying the entire DAO and all of that, but maybe even supporting it through Swapper or something like that, this could give us a fairly, I don't know, maybe big advantage in this blockchain, or, you know, maybe it will be a fad, but it could be an interesting thing to explore. And yeah, that's kind of it.
So I think that we have a very strong bet on L2 with Arbitrum. And I think that is something that we've had, not just because of where Arbitrum is right now, but because we've actually been forming a relationship with them for like the last several months, have already deployed on their test net. And so when Arbitrum kind of gets its shot, and that's what happens every kind of a couple weeks, I think we'll be better positioned there, as opposed to Solana, when there is like a whole ecosystem of FTX, lots of people involved. I think it would be a little bit harder to stick out in that. Plus, you know, I think these things do take resources. I think we know from running two bases now, one on XDAI and mainnet, like it does take a lot of coordination, and I think we're going to have our hands full with Arbitrum for at least the next several months. But long term, we do have to be nimble and be able to be on different chains. And be able to, like, both from product perspective and a governance perspective.
Yeah, and I think the argument for like Solana is getting hyped, like my individual views is just like a few big pockets playing DeFi games between each other. Like I don't think there is a community on Solana. It's just like FTX and I don't know, like a handful of big pockets pumping APY. Similar happened to Binance Chain. I think we should focus more on community and actually like normal people, like Exile.
Maybe one day it'll happen to Cosmos, Geronimo.
Well, I feel like, you know, Cosmos is getting. I've just been like looking at all these kind of other blockchains. Cosmos is getting some traction through Terra, right? Terra or Luna or whatever.
Thorchain too.
Like, yeah, and Thorchain as well. And there's like a bunch of others, but it looks like it's actually there's actually things happening as opposed to, I don't know, like Polkadot, which I don't know if there's anything live yet. There's like Kava, but that's it.
Wait, Kava
yeah.
is a Cosmos blockchain. You mean Akala, right?
Wait, Kava is Cosmos as well?
Kava is Cosmos as well.
What's the testnet for Polkadot?
Kusama.
Oh, Kusama. Yeah, right. My bad. So that's kind of like the only thing that's live there. Right?
It's not a testnet though. It's an actual real money, low stakes money blockchain.
Yeah, but that's the only thing that's live on Polkadot, right?
Yeah, well, Kusama is actually its own blockchain, so I'm not sure about mainnet Polkadot, but there's big expectations. Yes.
Yeah, so like my personal view is there will be an ecosystem built by Cosmos. There will be an ecosystem built by Polkadot. And as far as I see it, the Ethereum crowd is right now building its own ecosystem of like sidechains connected to mainnet and layer 2s connected to Ethereum mainnet. So I think that is basically the three biggest ecosystems in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ethereum layer 1 will kind of be the center of it all, and then everything will bridge there. So things will happen on Kusama, on Polkadot, or on layer 2s and whatever, Solana as well. But like the main settlement or the main hub for this entire thing is going to be Ethereum mainnet. I don't know, this is how I view it. Like everything else will be like a layer 2 to Ethereum.
Yeah, it could be. Like I actually thought about if we are building, like if we are installing a base on Arbitrum, if we're transferring funds from mainnet system to Arbitrum system, are we able to retrieve those funds if the whole L2 is exploding?
What do you mean by exploding? So Nylon, your language about like all those chains will just be L2s on Ethereum mainnet. That language is a little weird because that would imply that they all have the security of Ethereum mainnet, which I think is not going to be the case in any way. But they can try to connect to Ethereum, right, using different types of bridges and stuff. But Arbitrum and Optimism, which are true L2s, should inherit the same security properties as Ethereum mainnet. And if something is malicious, you should be able to get your money back on Ethereum mainnet. And that's what gives it L2.
That's for an address. Like if you were a wallet address and you moved your funds to L2, but I think Geronimo's question is like, well, what if the DAO has funds on L2?
The address of the DAO?
Up, then the address of the DAO is able to reclaim those funds on L1.
So
I think that's something.
Yeah, so at least with ZK Sync, which is, for example, when they first did their thing with Gitcoin grants. So there, you use a mainnet address, and even though I, as a person, like didn't technically know how to claim my L2 ZK Sync funds back onto mainnet, anyone, well, the team did it in this case, but anyone can trigger like a reversion back to mainnet. So I think DXDAO, if DXDAO moves the actual money, it doesn't have to be like the DAO that actually calls something. It's like if things break down, anyone has the ability to call to push basically funds back to mainnet. And that's what really gives its security. And same, I think, for Loopring. So we could try to find out maybe from their team, because they've been doing this for 2 years, right? So
I would assume it's a bit more complex than that, because what you described will allow anyone to DDoS anything. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that could potentially happen. Like, I think even if you don't want your funds, someone could like dispute something and say, settle it, and like push a settlement, and it settles everyone's funds back to mainnet. I think that can actually happen in certain circumstances.
This makes sense for a normal Ethereum address, but it doesn't make sense for a contract, because the contracts don't have owners, and they can't, like, yeah, DeFi has owners, but my point is, I don't think if we install a base on Arbitrum, there will be no one who has a key to the contract, right?
Yeah,
I thought you had it, Geronimo.
Not sure. That's why we need more L2 experts, I guess, which we have.
We should reach out to Arbitrum and actually ask them exactly that question.
Yeah, and also might be with deploying to Arbitrum.
Like, my point is, maybe we need to like include this security measure where the DXDAO base on mainnet can basically call the funds back, right? That is like the advantage we have of being like on the mothership, Ethereum mainnet.
Or that would like make us much more, that would lower the risk dramatically, and we could be doing a lot more funds quickly if we had that ability.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the latest sort of deployment for Arbitrum?
We talked to someone like 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, and they're kind of like, get ready. We've got a candidate, and it looks like things are going to come. And it sounded like in a couple weeks they'd let us know, and then it'd be a couple weeks after that. So, I mean, we are, yeah, it could be very soon.
All right. Interesting. I guess there's like still a bunch of open questions for how exactly it will work and the mainnet resolution. I remember like last I saw it was like 7 days if you want to resolve it. Something like that, right?
Oh, so yeah, Nyla, you missed a bunch, but there is yeah, we're already talking about ways to do fast exits using DXDAO capital, like within Swapper from Arbitrum back to mainnet if people wanted to. So there's like Connext is working on things. There's another network, Hop network, which is allowing transfers between these different chains. But there's a technology embedded within Arbitrum's technology that allows DXDAO to use its capital to potentially do fast exits. And so we could do things like low fees or free for DXD holders, or or a small fee, so it could be a revenue model also if people use this, and DXDAO could use its capital and put limits on how much you can a certain wallet could exit from Arbitrum back to mainnet. So the question is, how much exiting, like, do we think, like, as these L2s grow, if Arbitrum launches and is building their DeFi ecosystem and stuff, is there going to be a lot of exiting? I imagine it's going to be more deposits, right? And deposits are kind of instant and the cost of mainnet transaction. So we'll see how popular exits are.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, if just trying to analyze this, I kind of think that at least most of the traffic, or a lot of the traffic, will be between those L2s, right? So like between Optimism and Arbitrum. And then, like, how can you basically move through them without moving through mainnet, because because that will slow things down.
That's interesting. I think, Chris, we had a talk where you kind of thought like L2 to mainnet was more popular case than actual L2 to L2, right?
I think popularity judged by users, probably L2 to L2, because that's what like all of, every individual user would want to do. But when you're talking about like liquidity flowing, I imagine large liquidity providers would want to go back to mainnet to like get to arbitrage something. So I think the liquidity, what will end up happening is like you have these liquidity providers that service retail users that are looking to go from L2 to L2. And in the background, like, they're managing liquidity from L2 and mainnet primarily, those different L2 and mainnets primarily. So like the flows, because eventually you're going to have to go through mainnet, or liquidity providers will have to control those flows. But I think there will be services. This is like the Hopper one, and this is why I think it's a really great opportunity for Swapper and maybe the resurgence of Rails to be able to own that bridge experience, because it's really going to be about who can have liquidity pools on different chains. And so therefore it's just like an accounting measure when they're doing these cross bridge things, rather than going through the whole like security of the protocol to ensure the transfer.
Yeah, John, it was your ex-colleague or your buddy who had joined a few calls a few weeks ago, who was really diving into L2s, right? And I think he was trying to figure out what he wanted to work on, but like a real L2 expert that wants to just dive in and understand everything L2 and interaction between L2s and L2 to L1. I think that's a position that like could someone who wants to do that and get paid to do that and like become the best person in the space about that, like DXDAO would pay that person and be very happy to have that person. It's almost research and implementation of that research and figuring out who's going to win this and how to win it. So that's a really important position I think we need filled.
So I'm actually bearish on Ethereum bridges from mainnet to L2 and even like sidechains. Like I tried to do something like move like DAI from Binance to Binance chain, and then bridge it to XDAI. And basically on every blockchain there is a DAI represent, which is crazy. Like, what I mean is, if you have like Binance DAI, if you bridge those to XDAI, they are just like Binance DAI. And if there's no market for Binance DAI on XDAI, you can't do shit with Binance DAI. And that's like very bad user experience, because no one actually knows what you're getting on which blockchain. So I'm actually like really bearish on.
Don't touch Binance DAI. What are you doing touching Binance DAI?
No, it's just like one good example for any bridge, because every bridge has their own shitcoins, and people don't know, like, maybe they would, So you basically need to create on every blockchain huge markets for all those clones of DAIs.
Yeah, but a curve deployed onto all of these blockchains, which is already happening, allows you to go between Binance DAI and the canonical DAI that everyone's using. So
but people will pay fees for every time they kind of bridge stuff and exchange Binance DAI to like normal DAI. And people will not do it.
It should be super low fee and no slippage, like Curve with really low fee.
Yeah,
right?
But therefore, you need huge liquidity.
Yeah, Geronimo, I think you're right. It's just like that's an opportunity for products and services to fill that gap and make that experience like easy. Like there will be a winning stablecoin on each chain, right? And it'll be some like derivative of that. But to Sky's point, there will be a very easy way for you to have your whatever shitty token A, stablecoin A that you're bringing from chain, this other chain. When you're bringing it to this other one, there'll be like a product or service that instantly gets you into like the most liquid service there. So I just think like that's where all of the enhancements I think are going to come is from that bridging experience, because it is like super sloppy.
Whatever happened to atomic swaps? Because I feel like
it's a meme. It's an idea. Like it's a name.
No, but the technology for atomic swaps, right, where it's like a multi-phase locking between, let's say, DAI on different L2s or DAI on different chains. Like, if it's the same asset, it makes it very, very easy.
Isn't Thorchain? Isn't that basically all cross-chain atomic swaps?
I don't think it's atomic swaps because they have liquidity, like between those, like with Rune. Like Rune is providing the liquidity between these things. So it's not atomic swaps. But yeah.
Yeah,
Are there any competitors to Rune?
Cosmos actually fixed the bridging issue, right? If you have DAI, like if you bridge DAI through the gravity bridge, if it will be like live, then there's just like one represent of DAI, and you can move the stuff through blockchains, and you don't like the user doesn't need to care about that shit anymore, and they don't need to pay for like Curve clones on each blockchain.
Yeah, I just don't think it needs to be solved at the protocol level. I agree that the user experience will be fixed, but like I think there will probably be centralized solutions that pop up, or like DAOs that can like provide liquidity on both of them, as opposed to having like the most elegant protocol design that allows the switching to happen seamlessly. But anyway.
Yeah, all right. Is there anything else before we end the call? I think we're a bit over time.
No.